Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
Been in business a week. I got more money and I know what to do with.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
Herrera Rocher. He is doing well.
Welcome back to the Focus Group. John Nash here with my good friend and co-host Tim Bennett. FocusGroupRadio.com is our website, and that's where you'll find out all about our audio and video platforms. We're down in Herndon, Virginia, and we're at the Volkswagen headquarters. And we're now joined by David Bruce, who's the Vice President of Human Resources of Volkswagen Group of America, or Volkswagen America. David, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
We're shaking hands? Is that what we're doing?
There we go.
Hey,
New twist to the show. New twist to the show.
We've never done
That
that.
I can do.
There you go. So, David, I was looking at your resume, and you have a master's in industrial relations,
Correct, yes.
which at first I thought that meant that you might be an expert in dealing with union negotiations, but that's not exactly what that is it? It's the relationship of industry to employee. Am I got that right?
Yes, yes. What really that means, and really where I spend most of my time and energy, is around connecting the talent and the workforce to the business. So as it relates to strategy, as it relates to programs, people development, all of these issues have bottom line people implications, no matter what it is organizationally. And my job is to help to understand those implications and to kind of help leadership identify with the workforce as it relates to introducing these types of programs.
So you're Volkswagen, can we call you Dave?
Sure.
All right. Sometimes David. You know, you're one of those guys with the, people have always told you probably have two first names, or
Exactly.
two last names.
I have a spare tire. I got two first names.
So so you're Volkswagen Group of America?
Correct.
And so for listeners out there that might not know, what brands does that entail?
Well, a lot of people don't realize Volkswagen Group of America is really a family of well-known brands. This can include not only the more recognizable brands like Audi or Volkswagen, right. But also some of the more interesting and exotic brands like Bentley, Lamborghini, or even Ducati Italian motorcycles. So we have all kinds of really interesting brands as well under that umbrella.
So in your role in human resources, and you mentioned talent, as John asked you that question, each of the brands has their own identity and their own culture.
Personality.
Right, and personality. So what's the challenge there for you in terms of finding talent? Do you ever talk to somebody that might have come in for a job with Volkswagen and say, I wonder if they might be better over at Ducati? Or do you silo yourself?
Yeah, well, it is unique and interesting about our world here in Volkswagen Group of America, because we have so many brands, and each of those brands really has its own standalone identity. And the brands are very strong, and many people identify with them in different ways. So when you look at the attributes of a Bentley brand, for example, compared to a Volkswagen brand, they're very different customers, very different brand attributes, and they appeal to an entirely different world of people. So oftentimes when people come to work for us, you know, if it's not someone just saying, hey, I'll take whatever job you have, a lot of people come to us saying, I want to work for Audi. I want to work for Volkswagen. I want to be part of that brand.
Their passion for the brand is such that they are
Absolutely.
literally like, I got to be a VW guy, or I got to be an Audi person.
That can absolutely happen. But you also then sometimes find that people will, once they get into the organization, they like to kind of move between the brands and build on their career and development that way as well. But the passion around these brands is one of the top motivators of our workforce. People love being associated with them, they love working with them, and they love being a part of the brand stories in the U.S.
So jumping to the challenges of what you do, taking someone in and they mesh with the company. So I dropped my car off the other day to have a servicing, all-track wagon. Love it. And I said, when the mechanic checks, could he look for, and the guy waved his hand, he goes, they're not mechanics, they're technicians. So in today's auto industry, where we no longer have mechanics, but we have software, we have IP design, how is the challenge of working in HR to fill roles that are really non-traditional? Like you're bringing in a lot of different people with a lot of, you said in an article recently that like a year ago, you're competing with software companies even in terms of who you bring in. So what is that dynamic like?
Well, it's interesting because, from a timing standpoint and a history standpoint, your question is spot on, because the auto industry is going through such a period of transformative change right now, unlike we haven't seen in 40 years. Literally, we've operated under the same basic business model for so long. Now we find ourselves in businesses like electric mobility, data, onboard IT systems, those types of things that traditionally have not been part of the normal auto industry. So basically what we're finding is we're having to go out and find these skill sets from people who maybe didn't think of working for a Volkswagen Group or for an Audi, for one of these brands.
Are their expectations a lot different, though? Because if you grab somebody that might not have an auto background, so doesn't understand the way an auto company works, because most of them are pretty much set up the same way as you mentioned, how does that affect if they had expectations of either time off or benefits, and how things have changed that way? If they came from a company where they might have been flush with cash in terms of what benefits were,
What company is that, by the way?
No, but when you talk about some of these tech companies where the kid's gonna, or the person's gonna say, I'm getting stock options, or I'm going to maybe get use of a car, or I'm gonna get to work on some great projects, but maybe I don't get family leave. So do you have to balance that, and is it across the portfolio, or again, is that by brand?
Specific, yeah.
Well, no, those types of conditions and expectations for people, that number one, that's across all of our brands and business units. And remember, we are part of a 650,000 employee company globally.
Yeah.
So one of the things we found that people, I said before about the connection, and the energy associated with the brands. But one of the reasons that some of the top talent in the industry likes to come with us and stay with us is the ability to have impact on global change, whether it's at the global level or at the U.S. level. People find that they are able to come into this company, regardless of the benefits. All those things are comparable one way or the other, but they find that we have the scale, we have the ability, we have the know-how, and the talent internally and the resources to make big things happen. And not everyone can say that in every industry or every business. So we're finding more and more that as we try to attract and retain people from these non-automotive industries, they come in and they like what they see and they like what they're able to do. And we find that that's an important attractor for people and a motivator for them in their careers.
Is there one thing I've always been fascinated by is exactly what you're talking about, but I'm going to change it a little bit. So if skill sets are transferable, AKA a good problem solver in the software world is a good problem solver in an auto company, do you have to make that argument to some candidates that let's say you have a candidate you think is a prime person to either lead others or to be on a team and collaborate, and they're like, well, this is fine, but I don't really do, so how do you actually make the final, get the brass ring?
Yeah, well, part of it is, kind of selling the challenge and the opportunity as well. Because, for certain types of workers out there and certain types of talent, you put in front of them a challenge like helping to transform a traditional industry like the automotive industry into this new world, into this kind of whole new economy, this whole new approach. To them is sometimes irresistible when they say it's one thing to go to work for an Apple or a Google or one of these companies. What you're getting and what they'll be doing and so forth. But when they see what they could potentially do with our company and to be part of that scale of transformation, it's a very powerful attractor for people.
And so part of the reason we're down here visiting is the Out and Equal conference is happening this week in Seattle. But we wanted to come and talk to you guys as our partner here on the focus group. And aside from as big as you talk about the organization, the importance that you guys place on either diversity or inclusion, and how do you make sure that you're also doing that while you're trying to do all the other things that you mentioned and the importance of it within the organization? Is that under your area?
Absolutely. And one of the, to me, that is one of the best outcomes of the transformational change that we're going through as an organization right now, is that we're kind of reinventing our traditional workforce, in terms of how it looks, where we recruit from, and how we build that workforce in terms of bringing, people with new thinking, new backgrounds, new interests, new competencies, and it kind of opens windows for us that we haven't had traditionally. And when I started with this company, it was in a suburb of Detroit. And the traditional recruitment is you open your door and you shout out to the other auto companies, and the same group of people tends to move around.
Bring out your dead.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And one of the main reasons we originally relocated our headquarters from Southeast Michigan in 2008 was to expand and diversify the thought and experience of our workforce. And we were literally looking for people that weren't in the automotive industry before, because we needed new thinking, we needed new ideas, we needed new perspectives in the company, and that really opened our eyes to diversity and inclusion.
And here I thought it was because Dulles had more flights to Germany. I thought you came here for flights to Germany.
There is a utilitarian quality to the decision.
Detroit
and I do
Detroit has
appreciate
them
that.
too, though.
Detroit does have them too. I've been on them all, believe me. But yes, but
it can all be. And I guess in the spirit of transparency, I worked for another automotive brand, and was part of the team that was trying to implement a lot of diversity programs and inclusion programs, and there was pushback at times, and I remember the struggle trying to figure out how you balance that, and I'm sure you probably run into that with an organization as big as you guys are. How do you convince somebody who might not be on board with saying, listen, this is the way we need to move forward, this is good for the company in general?
Is it a carrot or a stick? Do you lead them along, or do you whack them
I
on
read
the
that
head?
you might do surveys, or you might have some third party empirical data that says, you know what, you might not necessarily agree with this, but this makes sense from a business point of view.
yeah. So it is like many things. It's part carrot and part stick. But where we've kind of enjoyed the most success in moving along programs around diversity and inclusion, it's where we've been able to identify a strong, sustainable business case. That the world we're living in is moving so fast, and the competition is so intense right now in this industry, that the companies that are going to be jumping out ahead are the ones more often open to new thought, new perspectives, new ideas, an entirely new idea of what workforce and talent looks like. Mm-hmm. So we now realize, and we're slowly, and we haven't figured it all out. Not every company has, and there's a lot of areas where we see and would like to see ourselves improve. But for the most part, we are seeing that the companies that are stuck in old world, old industry thinking are going to be the ones left behind. And when we see successful companies that have really engaged their leadership, and have really introduced these real living ideas around diversity and inclusion in their strategies, in their workforce, and in their leadership, we see success. And there's one thing we like in this company. It's understanding what success looks like. How do we get that success? How do we compare against that success? And I think we're really coming around to realize is that these are modern ideas and sensibilities that we cannot continue to compete if we don't make this part of our strategy in our workforce.
Excellent.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
Do you drive a Volkswagen, or do you drive something else?
I do. No. I do. I drive a Golf
Leaning it out of your
wagon.
I thought maybe you had
You're an all-track driver.
I'm an all-track driver too. We're three all-track drivers.
We're all-track drivers. And that I love the Golf family.
Yeah, I do too.
The Golf family is the greatest. To me, it's the perfect world car. And we have all these variations and everything. But at the end of the day, whether you like a sporty GTI or you like a Golf track or an all-track wagon, it's got something for everyone.
Well, I had a CC before, and then John loved the sport wagon, so now we both have the all-track wagon. So
Excellent.
so we
All
love
three
it.
of us then.
So hey, thanks for joining us. It's
Thank you.
David Bruce. He's Vice President of Human Resources at the Volkswagen Group of America. John and I are here in Herndon. We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned, and we've got some more from the focus group.
Brought to you by the Volkswagen Tiguan. Visit VW.com to learn more.